That's the world that we live in. People taking accountability for some shit that they didn't do, but scared to take accountability for the shit that they can personally control. What's up, Closer Nation? This week, I want to talk about accountability. A lot of people say they want it. A lot of people say they need it. A lot of people will pay for it and then avoid it like the damn plague. I have people for 12 years, I have been a coach. That means that I have earned some form of income coaching people professionally for 12 years now. I've coached people that own billion-dollar companies. I've coached a shitload of people with 8-figure and 7-figure companies. Almost all of them that I have coached over the years, if not all of them, have come to me because they say they want accountability. But I have noticed that there is quite a few of them that when you hold somebody accountable, they really didn't want what they said in the first place, or they wanted accountability accustomed to their standards. Accountability when it's convenient for them, not what Jocko Willink would call extreme ownership, right? Extreme accountability at all times. See, I'm an extremist. When I say I'm an extremist, anything worth doing is worth doing in excess. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way in. I don't just go to the gym and work out. I go to the gym and work out with a professional athlete that puts me through the ringer. I don't just go to the office and show up. I go to the office and work my ass off and get 48 hours worth of work done every 24 hours that exist in a day. I don't just show up and spend a whole ass day recording these podcasts. I got 14 years of doing this shit, never missing a beat, never having to repeat an episode, and very rarely having to stop and start all over. I am the one take king of this shit 14 years in a row. Now, the reason why I say that is I am an extremist. That means if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it all the way in. Like, I don't know too many people that have written more than 14 books. I don't know too many people that have posted more words on social media than I have, if those people even exist. I don't know anybody that has, but I'm saying if there is, there's somewhere, right? Now, there's guys that make more posts, but that's because they got team and shit. I'm talking about for me. I personally wrote this shit, right? So I say that because I'm an extremist. So when it comes to accountability, I want extreme accountability too. After all, I hired David Goggins to coach me before any of you guys knew who he was, before he was on the Joe Rogan show, before he had his first or second book. Back in 2017, David Goggins was my coach. Anyway, most people are not extremists though. Most people say they want something, but they want it on their own terms, or they want it in a convenient way. That's not me. And so I've had a lot of people over the years come to me for accountability, but they really don't want that. But you think about going back, talking about Jocko, you think about it in the Navy SEALs, which we have a few guys that work with us that are SEALs. We have a few customers, clients, members of Apex that are SEALs as well, and Green Berets and everything in between. You think if those guys mess up on a mission, there's no accountability there? You think they don't maybe even come to blows occasionally, fights and shit because of mistakes that are made in training and in reality? You think that there's not some words exchanged, some extreme accountability? Now, I'm not saying I'm the type of person to typically yell at somebody, although I have a few times when people were out of integrity, and I will absolutely lose my cool because I have standards that I abide by and I have emotions as well. But having said that, most people will avoid accountability if we're just being honest. If we say, hey, I saw you walk out of the bathroom and you didn't wipe down the sink, proper answer is, you know what, I'm sorry, turn around and go wipe off the sink. But what typically happens is, well, man, that's not my job. You know, it was already wet before I got there, and you know, they got janitors and shit to take care of it. Why do you need me to wipe it off? That's the most common human reaction from that, because we've been taught somehow to avoid accountability. But we see that even sometimes those folks will take accountability for someone else's, like as a group, will take accountability for someone else's actions while that individual doesn't take accountability at all. Think about that for a minute. That's the world that we live in. People taking accountability for some shit that they didn't do, but scared to take accountability for the shit that they can personally control. So what is accountability? How does it benefit us, and why do we need it? This shit's what keeps you in for the long run. A lot of people, they're not into it. They're scared of it. They run from it because it's reality. When I hired David Goggins for an accountability coach, you think he knew if I was going to lie to him? This dude negotiates with terrorists while they're armed. You think he can't tell if I'm full of shit? Just some dude from the streets with no formal training? But I need that extreme accountability in my life. If you know Bobby Castro, that's my mentor now. You don't think that guy holds me accountable? Bobby is a very well-to-do entrepreneur. We're having a conversation yesterday, and this is what he says. He says, Ryan, you have this going on, this going on. He had a list of things that I am currently working on. And he says, there's no way you can look me in the eye and tell me that you're on top of all that shit. No way you can tell me that you have the ability to handle all that shit at top priority and make it work right. What he was doing was holding me accountable. But what he's also done is coached me up really good, and I'm very good at what I do anyway, so I gave him the best answer you possibly could. Of course not, Bobby. That's why I've hired people to man those projects for me that I trust 100%, that take care of it and report it to me so that I don't have to actually be there and worry about any of that shit except for this lane right here that I stay in driving the Apex vehicle. Okay, good answer, Ryan. Had I not known that somebody like Bobby or Pastor Keith, that those guys holding me accountable, right, I wouldn't have operated myself in that way. You keep a bunch of yes people around. Not me. I want my creative team to say, hey man, those videos, like, we're gonna think of something new. I want somebody to tell me that because it forces us to come up with new shit. It holds me accountable to innovation as opposed to holding me in place with stagnation. So many people are scared of accountability, but accountability is truly a blessing. So here's what I'm gonna ask you. Who are you getting held accountable to? Most of you say, oh, well, my wife or my husband, but the truth is you're not being real with them either. We have to have an accountability partner in our life, and we have to have something to be accountable to. I left Tennessee Colony in 2001, and I told myself when I left there, I said, I'm not gonna do anything in the dark that I wouldn't do in the light. And what I was basically saying, I was making a promise between, I would say myself and God, but at the time I wasn't the most religious person. I was just making a promise to myself. But now that promise is between me and God, is that, you know what, I'm accountable for what I do. Therefore, I will not do anything that I would be embarrassed of or ashamed of that I wouldn't just admit in public forum anyway. And that's extreme accountability. I'm owning what's mine. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. That just means that when I do up, I have to own that up. I can't blame it on somebody else. That's the opposite of accountability, would be excuse making. It's like accountability is like, hey, this is my fault. Excuse making is, hey, it's your fault.